And in our event, we're going to be sharing screen, so you guys can already see my screen. I'd like to welcome you all to this beautiful event because it is where we talk about taking things and into the market. And if you guys already know, this is not the first episode that we had. We've had a few already. And this episode will actually be very special because we have three brilliant entrepreneurs slash scientists slash research based individuals. And I think it's going to be very exciting to hear their stories because we are going to be having, some of them are going to be very engaging talks with a lot of things that we can take in our own lives. But I think also what makes it very special is that some of the talks will be a conversation between me and the awesome entrepreneurs. So you can of course get a bit more, and all the time I would urge you to use the chat box on the side. So make sure you, whenever a question comes to your mind, just type it in, and we're going to be answering it as the day goes. After every talk or every discussion, we will be having 5 minutes for an intensive Q&A with the speaker. So please feel free to just, whatever comes to your mind, throw it our way. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our three speakers for today. We have Semu Ellila, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Enifer Bio. Then we have also Pasi Herranen. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Vacuum Insulation Solutions. And finally, we have Mika Palanne, and he is actually the CEO and founder of Elmeri. And we are going to start, not in order of what I said, but actually in the most recent. So we are actually going to start with Mika. So Mika, I'd like to give the stage to you.
All right.
Or
Thank you.
more like
Thank you,
join me
Tarek.
on the stage. You're
I will.
welcome.
I will. Very excited to be here, and happy to see
Likewise.
all the initials here. So lots of people here. So, and like Tarek mentioned, so whatever questions you have, just write it in the chat, and happy to talk about those as well.
That's lovely. So, Mika, I will ask you the hardest question of all. What is your story, and how
My
did you end
story.
up being in Elmeri?
Yeah. So my background. So I've been roughly 20 years in the corporation. So organizational development, change consultancy, and then I was hoping for something else. And surprise, surprise, so opportunity knocked. And I dropped by at the Aalto University and had some discussion about some very innovative electrochemical innovation that
Mhm.
helps metal refineries to circulate the precious metals. So in practice, they get more metals. So the value proposition was clear. And so uh, I sat down and talked with people, and it sounded interesting. And then we wrote application for the Business Finland Research to Business funding, and then we got it through and run a project, and here we are, straight from the lab to market.
That's beautiful. What a live example. Now, talking about research to business funding, a lot of people are a bit scared and worried because they're like, okay, is it good enough? Do we have enough patents? What's going on? So, what would you say about that process? How was it for you?
That's excellent. That's very good and funding. So no need to be afraid, at least from my perspective. So if you start write the application, so like in all the other cases, ask help. So there are many people who have done it before. So that will probably increase your odds to get the funding, or at least get the right things on the paper. And so the project format is great. So the bureaucracy is super low. I think Business Finland is working very well. And so we due to COVID, so we need to modify the plan a couple of times, and no problems with that. And yeah,
That is nice.
strongly encouraging that. Yeah,
So just being brave and trying it out. Like, what's the worst that could happen, and then finding mentors to help you throughout the process.
yeah, and it's maybe good to have a discussion, because often people feel modest. That so that is there a business case, or maybe this is not good enough. So more like be brave.
Be brave. I think this will be a theme for our talk, being brave. But
Yeah.
about being brave, I mean, look at me. I am a researcher. I'm in the labs. I have a more or less a structured life. So how does the entrepreneurial life compare to that? and how can I be able to like, okay, like think or even visualize entering that entrepreneurial life?
Again, so if we are focusing on the research to business or some other opportunity, so it's kind
Yes.
of risk free. So what happens in the project? So you can kind of practice being an entrepreneur with funding, so that you get to
Wow.
learn, you get the opportunity to learn all the things and the competencies that you need to be the entrepreneur during the project, and then you can kind of decide and see, of course, if there's a market question, need, and so on, how your solution is working. But so that entering that the kind of research to business project is not yet the decision, but it's kind of I would say risk-free trial period.
This is such a good point. A risk-free trial period.
Yeah.
Huh. Because it's very often that we have this mindset in research. When doing research, we're thinking, okay, I need to do this research and I need to publish it, and it has to be great, amazing results for it to
Mm.
be published. So there's this kind of like a little bit like a curse.
Well, maybe if yeah, so that's a good point, because here kind of let's say on this side on the fence, so things don't
Okay.
need to be 100% ready, and they will not be. So of course it may be a big step for if you are used to kind of produce something like completely full, ready, reviewed, and so on. So there are a lot of kind of small mindset changes are needed, but that's why you are not alone there. So maybe
Mm,
second point is that it's about people and kind of learning together, asking for help. And the great thing here is that there seems to be this kind of clear kind of pay it forward mentality. So you ask help for others. During 2.5 years, no one has told me that I don't have time to help you with your questions. Everyone has
wow.
found time. And so of course, so I'm looking forward so that I can help other people then when I'm gonna have a more experience, and then it's gonna be your turn someday when you're gonna be experienced and successful entrepreneur.
Oh my God, that's such a beautiful mindset, Mika. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember when we talked before, and I remember very well telling you towards the end of the conversation. I don't know if you realized it, but I realized it. So, guys, I was telling Mika like it was really nice talking to you, and I can't wait. Looking forward to have a lovely event and see you soon. And it was like, yeah, see you soon. I was like, yeah, see you next. On the day of the event, like see you next Thursday. And he said, yeah, Thursday, of course, like see you on Thursday, but also I could see you otherwise. And I was like, that is a person who wants to connect with people. Like it's not just like he's in and out, he has a job to do, but it's more like about the people, about like connecting, having those genuine conversations. So I think I could highlight this as maybe one of the ingredients of success for being an entrepreneur.
Maybe, yeah, and there as well, that not to have like a barrier with that. So you don't need to have any extraordinary social networking skills, but just I would say
Ah,
be yourself and be active. And if you're genuinely kind of interested about what people are doing and how they see the world, so there, I think the magic is there.
the magic is there. All
Yeah.
right. What would you say is the strengths of someone who's already doing research, is an academic, is maybe doing his
Mhm.
master thesis, but what would you say is their actual strengths when they are trying out that other side of the fence?
So of course, this kind of a kind of structural way of thinking and trying things, and then see what the results are, and finding new information, and kind of asking reviews and so on. So that's definitely something that you need on the entrepreneur life. So
Hmm,
and kind of being persistent, so that you try something or you write something and it doesn't go through necessarily the first time.
that is true. Not always.
And
No, no.
yeah, and kind of life lifelong learning, interest to learn always new.
Mm, to learn always new. So you're not really ready. You're almost never ready.
Never ready. Yeah.
Never ready. Okay, that is nice. So now I have a question to the audience as we're having this conversation. Maybe I can ask the audience, what do you think about the whole entrepreneurial journey from where you are? Like when you look at it and be like, huh, there's a lot of startups, especially around the Aalto ecosystem. There's beautiful things going on. There's VTT, they're very included. The Aalto Startup Center, for example, the Aalto Ventures program. These are all different centers that have been put in place to bring this event to you and to bring many others to you. So what do you guys think as the audience? I would like to give this question to the audience. How do you feel about these activities and how do you feel about these events? Is the entrepreneurship life something that is maybe scary to you or exciting or interesting? That's something I think that would be very lovely to know. And please feel free to use the chat on the side. And of course, if you have any specific questions for Mika, you can always direct it his way. And I will already direct a question towards Mika while you guys think about my question for you. And that is, Mika, what do you think is the hardest thing about that life? About doing, blending the research and business. You can be as honest as you can.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would come back to the point that it would be very hard alone by yourself. So that's why
Mm,
kind of having the team that with whom you work, it's very important to kind of connect and discuss and be open with each other that hey, I don't like this, or I like this, and I don't know how to do this, and yeah, I can help. And but besides that, so of course to kind of have like a mentor or someone supporting you outside of your own team. So I would say that kind of a two-folded support network is very important, and without that, it would have been hard.
two-folded support network. Okay, that's an interesting distinction that you're creating here. So, what would you say makes what would you say makes a good mentor? How can I know a good mentor? How can I spot one in core
Um,
market maybe?
I would say that he or she is asking more questions than providing answers.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So a good
it's
mentor is a person who's asking
yeah,
questions.
yeah, not kind of pushing you the solutions without understanding your viewpoint.
Mm, I like that. That's a
Yeah.
very, very good point. Actually, we're already getting some comments in the chat. I would like to read them to you. So we have Mikko Valkonen. He said, it is still scary, but the Aalto Ventures program has made it easier to understand how entrepreneurship can be worthwhile after having taken some courses. Yeah, this is actually a very, very interesting point because the courses are made to help you with the tools and the mindset. Mayank said, I think that proactiveness is very great here. However, I'm not very impressed with the funding scene. I think my previous experience with startup grants and scholarships has been very nice. Only research fund does not cut for me to build a startup, simply because startup is much more than technology or research project. What do you think about that, Mika?
Yeah, of course it varies. So well we've been very fortunate, or we've been working hard and being active and having had support and then being fortunate, I would say.
Yes.
Because I think the research to business funding has been great because during that project we've been able to find out that how do we get the further funding. And so what
Mm,
we were very well again active but lucky, but we got our first customers like 3 weeks after we ended up the project. So and then after that, so there are lot of investment money. You can get the bigger funding or smaller funding, and even with the really small funding, you can get the 10 or 50 grand from Business Finland. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, but don't know all the cases, of course. So it doesn't come
of
for
course.
free, but being active, I think it's at and they are last thing. So there are people and companies that who are helping to find the funding, and that's something
Mm,
again that you can include into your project. So keep in mind.
yeah,
So
that's a
eh,
yeah.
you don't
Sorry,
need to know all the scene by yourself. There are people who know.
that is true, and I think Kim actually, Kim Aalto. I'm not sure if really Kim, your name is Kim Aalto, or is it? I mean, Like, are you the owner of Aalto? Okay, never mind. So Kim actually shared a few nice links, and I hope this could be useful, Mayank. This maybe the links that Kim is sharing with us. He's very proactive, so he can direct you a little bit to where to go and find those networks of people that know. But Mika, thank you very
Maybe
much
can I
for
one
yes.
comment for Mikko, because he says it's still scary. So I'm definitely not
Yeah.
saying that there are not emotions involved. So of
Okay.
course things are scary, and then at some point there's nothing that scares you. You are the king of the world, and then you get into the
Right.
next mountain, and it's even scarier. So definitely there are a lot of emotions. So this, but at least I like it. And coming back to the thing that's again where you need the other people.
Mm,
All right,
well
thanks, Tarek.
said.
This was very very
My
nice.
pleasure, Mika. And I actually want to grab you for one more question from Posse, actually. So he asked one question. We can conclude with this because it's a very good question. He said, Mika, did you own the possible IPR rights after the RT, like research to business project ended to start the business cases? It's quite of a
Yeah, so
technical question.
that is so just for all the people. So often it goes so that Aalto University is owning the IPR. So in practice, the patent. And
Yes.
so during the project, we are kind of finding out if we can find kind of good business based on that. And if yes, then after the project, there's negotiation between the startup and Aalto that with what terms we can kind of buy or own the patents and IPR. So for Pasi, please contact me. But so we had these negotiations afterwards, and we came into terms so that we can own the IPR.
Everything is a negotiation.
A lot of things, yes.
A lot of things. Thank you once again, Mika. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate your time, and because now I'm getting greedy and I realize we have a
Yes.
couple of minutes. So can I ask you one more thing actually before we end it? If you can tell something to your 20-year-old self, what would that be?
Well, not to regret anything, but I was still encouraged to be kind of brave towards the entrepreneurial life. Yeah, not
Be
to have
brave.
it kind of not to have it kind of boogeyman under the bed that there's something, but I don't want to look at it. So and you can
Ooh,
you can always kind of think that if you can take small steps, maybe help a friend who's got the company, or do something little that you get to know the world more. So you don't need to necessarily quit everything and then dive deep.
very well said. Very well said. Thank you very much, Mika.
All right, thanks everyone, and you can from LinkedIn at least if you have any further questions or comments you want to
Absolutely. And if you can
have
just
a discussion.
exactly, let's have also your LinkedIn on the chat. I think Reti can help us with that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mika. See you. That was a lovely discussion. And up next, we have Simo Ellila. He's the CEO and co-founder of Anyfer Bio. Good to see you, Simo.
Hi, Tarek. Good to see you too. And
This is going to
yeah,
be fun.
good
Yeah.
afternoon to everybody there in the audience.
Good afternoon to everybody. And I think this is going to be exciting because we are here and we are about to speak to one another and have a discussion. And I'll try to pick your brains a bit. So once again, I'd like to thank you for being with us here today, Simo. This is going to be exciting because you are at the forefront and you have been experiencing things that we don't know about. We're here in the labs, and I keep saying we because I'm a PhD, like a postgraduate, a postdoctoral researcher myself.
Mhm.
So I've been through the journey of being a doctoral candidate, and now I'm really fascinated to know more about Simo's story. So Simo, what is your story?
All right, thanks. Yeah, so indeed, I was once a researcher. I never even got to the whole PhD and postdoc stage myself. So
Oh,
I did about 10 year stint at BTT. I came there originally as a master's student, then stayed on working on various projects in the biotech space. So I'm a molecular biologist by training, but what I've ended up being an expert at is fermentation. So growing microbes in large scale fermenters. Um, So Enter Bio today is a 2-year-old startup. We're based here on the outskirts of Espoo, and we're a spin-off company from VTT. But how the company came into existence is quite, I would say, it's a series of great coincidences. So I myself, as said, I was a researcher, never a particularly good one. I mean, that's not being, but not trying to be humble there. But no, but the point is that I never wanted to pursue an academic career. That's my point. So I was always on the lookout for commercial applications, and I guess I might have been a pain in the ass to some of my colleagues because they were coming up with great ideas and I was always shooting them down. But look at the fundamentals. That would never actually make like economic sense, or it wouldn't work out. Whereas a lot of researchers are just in it for the curiosity, and this is an interesting aspect, an interesting thing to study. But yeah, so I had been constantly on the lookout for business ideas. I was a bit frustrated, so I was working in the biorefining space, and a lot of great projects, but they were always just projects. Once the funding ended, you maybe did a publication, maybe you ended up in the situation where, okay, it just doesn't make economic sense. You can't compete with fossil fuels. It doesn't work. Or then we were doing projects for international customers, and what really kind of bugged me was that we had this great know-how at VTT in biotech, and that we couldn't create more business and more value out of that. So when the opportunity came along, I was on the lookout. I guess it's always a question of being ready when the right opportunity arises. So in my case, it was in a Business Finland project. It was a larger project where I got to know a particular fermentation process, and I thought that it had great potential. And then we had an external person, maybe a little bit similar to sorry, I already forgot the previous speaker's name, but so Mika, yeah. So we had an external person approach VTT with a kind of business idea, which was related to that. And we, as I was the technical person most knowledgeable about the subject matter, we got into this dialogue and started looking at it. And he had really thought about the business angle on it, and we worked on it together. And then we were really lucky that right about that time, VTT started the Launchpad startup incubator program. So we have at least Maria I see on the call here. So the new leadership at VTT instigated this startup incubator program, essentially where a researcher could apply with a business idea, and if it was judged to be of interest, of a potential, then you could get some funding to pursue that. So essentially, I could beyond my normal duties as a researcher, I could start to spend some of my time and get a little bit of funding to flesh out this idea, do a little bit of testing in the lab, but also then mainly to flesh out the business case, talk to potential partners, prove that there is a demand for that particular solution, and build those networks. And eventually, of course, the idea is to spin out the company, which requires then that you can convince investors to back your approach. And we were able to do that. We're actually the first company to spin out of the Launchpad program.
Oh.
So that's us in brief. So we were actually, in the end, we were 5 co-founders. So from VTT, we had three people joining and then 2 externals.
Very nice. Very, very nice story. And there's so much there to unpack. I want to start actually with the first thing of all, the mindset. Yeah. And I want actually the audience also to jump in on this. I want everybody listening to us today to answer one question. What is an application of the research that you're doing? Like a commercial application. Just type it in the comment section. Think about it. Be like, all right, I'm doing something in like cancer, biomarkers. Maybe that could make a drug. Maybe that could make a better diagnostic tool. So I want you guys to just let us know, what are you working on and what's the application? Because Simo, it seemed that this was like a mode of thinking. Modus operandi, like that's how you operate, right? That's how you think all the time. It's like, that's a great idea, but let's shoot it down because it's not applicable.
Yeah. And from my side, and I'm the first person to appreciate science. I mean, we definitely need basic science for the sake of science. But
Yes.
I'd gone to VTT because it's an applied research organization where you're supposed to be looking at things from a applications point of view.
That is why you joined the Launchpad.
Yeah. But also just why I decided to do my master's at VTT instead of doing it at a university, right? Because VTT is closer to the end applications on the technology.
That is true. And do you think like this fact that you're able to think of an application right away, is it something that's like that could be learned, or is it something that you were born with, like a talent?
I don't know if it's a talent. It's a mindset, I guess. As said, I was never really drawn to the. I mean, I am a very curious person, and I like doing research, but at the same time, I'm more of an applications person. I want to see I want to be involved in something where you can see the concrete impact of it, not that I'm just adding to the humanities knowledge base.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, both are important, like you said,
Yeah.
and then how to kind of find a balance between both.
Yeah.
That you do something that could be beneficial for the society. So then, what would you say you learned through this journey now that you're like, okay, you're at the application side and now you're in the startup and you're co-founding it. So what skills did you feel that, oh, Simo needs to learn these things to move forward?
Well, I guess that was also a very important point. So we were all first-time startup founders on the founder team. So
Okay.
of course, there was nobody with direct experience, for instance, on the funding negotiations, how to talk to venture capitalists, for instance. But that's why the Launchpad incubator is there. So they were also helping out with that. And just the whole negotiations on how does an investor think, right? So what are they looking for? How do you prove that your idea is worth investing in? And what are the kind of, so that took, I guess, a little bit of time to be able to present your story in a way that's appealing to an investor. And then I guess there's just once you actually get to founding a startup, then there's just tons of this practical stuff, right, that you never think about, like what goes into actually running a company. And I love it. I mean, it's a wild ride, and every day is different. But I'm a big believer in learning by doing. So stumbling and getting up.
What would you say? You said like some of the things that it takes to actually have a startup or a running company. What are those? Can you like mention one or two?
What kind of things? What kind of characteristics you mean? Or
like the things that you were talking about, like that you had to
Ah.
kind of develop because you were first time entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I would say, especially on how to make it appealing to investors, because of course you need money to get off the
Okay.
ground. Well, unless you're working with a software startup and it's just one guy in a laptop somewhere writing code. But if you're dealing with anything else, you're going to need a lot of money. And then how do you present the case? How do you put the numbers together? How do you evaluate the market potential? How do you even go about in a structured way, because the investors are used to seeing things in a certain way. They want to see what is the market where you're going, what is the size of the market that you're approaching, what fraction, so that's called the addressable market. Then like what is the market share you could reach, and then working through the numbers, like if everything goes well, how big can this become? And of course, the bigger the better. Like a VC's mindset is that they take 10 bets, right? Or 20 bets. They bet on 20 companies. They know that 90% are going to fail, but a couple of them might become a Google or whatever. So
Right.
But each one has to have that, at least on paper, a chance of becoming big. So you have to somehow be able to present it in a way that if we get everything right, that this can become something pretty valuable.
Oh yes, I really love this point, Simo. Like I cannot stress on it so much, because what you're doing is actually so powerful. You're communicating a vision, you're communicating sort of like a dream.
Yeah.
That is not yet there, but if you communicate it in a specific way, like these are actionable steps, this is what we're going to do, this is how much money there is, this is how much money we can actually make, realistically speaking, let's have 1% of that market.
Yeah.
Then it starts, like the picture starts forming, like pieces of a puzzle. Like, I like you, I trust you, I'll invest in you.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good idea. I can trust the methodology, the mode of thinking that you have. Yeah.
And especially coming from a science background, it's
Yes.
so often that you're explaining the fancy details of your invention, and look at all these technical features, how many gigahertz and cogs this thing has, whereas that's not how the investor thinks. It's like, what is the potential, how, like, okay, you say that this is the market size and you're going to reach this, how are you going to make sure that your competitors don't eat you up, which means, like, what is your IP, all of that, so
your intellectual property. Yeah.
So it's just a different way of communicating and emphasizing different things, and they want to see that you've really thought about it, like how this is going to make them money, right?
Exactly. How you thought about them. I think that's the key word here.
Yeah.
Because he's an investor. So I would like to present the audience with the opportunity to ask Simo any questions that comes to your mind. As you see Simo, the way he is, like, from the research going into the application of research into the market, he has been through a lot. He was a first-time entrepreneur, so this is like a new thing also for him, and he's learning as he goes. And he's also like, okay, thinking, there's an investor here, there's moving parts. How do we make sure we are on the same page? How can we team up and partner up with those investors so that they can support us achieve our goals? So I think this is Simo is like you are packing so much experience that I would love to unpack. Hopefully the audience can throw you some questions. And while you guys are thinking of some questions to ask Simo, I can already read an application from some of the Mayank mentioned that they're working on enabling moon missions with small satellites. That's very clear. What do you think, Simo, about the communication style?
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. That's a very important skill, being able to. I'm still sometimes lacking it myself, to put it in, one sentence or two sentences. It's very important. It's great that you're already there. But then the next stage is like, how do you make money with that?
Oh, so okay, Mayank, you have a follow-up question. It's like, where's the money?
Yeah.
So Simo, what would you say was the again, for you personally, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first one is like, what is your biggest challenge throughout this journey?
Biggest challenge? Wow. Very good question. I guess it's there's so many small challenges all the time. Difficult to pick one biggest one. I guess it's just having the right partners at each stage, and partners who you trust, right? I mean, if you don't have if you don't yeah, if you don't have trust, then things are not going to go anywhere. And I'm talking about, I'm talking about having the right founder team. I'm talking about having the right investors backing you, and then also, like, your first commercial partners, because they're going to be super important. That I don't know. It depends on your business, but yeah, your first when you prove the commercial traction, that's really important, to be able to show that this has potential, and that those partners don't screw you over. So it's right. I don't know. Having the right partners at each stage.
Okay, so who we play with is very important all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting point. Actually, a side note, my uncle actually has started making money since yesterday, Simo. As of yesterday. And she has a website as well. She shared it with us, so we can all check it out. Congratulations, my uncle. And Simo, I'd like to ask you one last question. Guys, if anybody has a question, please feel free to shoot it. I will ask this question regardless, and that is, what would Simo say to his 20-year-old self?
My kids are only 9 and 4, but so I still have some time to think. But what would I say? Yeah, I don't know. I guess just grab the what I was saying in the beginning. Just be ready to grab the opportunity when it arises, because they don't come along all that often, and so easily you let it slip by. You're so used to your
Yes.
your daily grind that you just focus on that. Yeah, so grab opportunities, and then don't be afraid of trying new things.
I like that. Thank you so much, Simo. Grab the opportunity and don't be afraid to try new things. Thank you. Very well said, Simo. And we'll have you, of course, during we have like a networking session towards the end. So of course the speakers will be there. You can ask them some questions, and please, if you may, Simo, share with us your LinkedIn as well, if people can connect with you, if you don't mind. Right. And Mika seconds that. Fully supports Simo on this one. Be alert for the opportunities. I agree with you, gentlemen. All right then. Thank you, Simo.
Yeah, thanks.
And up next, we have our last speaker of the day. We have Pasi Herranen, and he will be talking to us about vacuum insulation solutions, where he is currently the Chief Technology Officer. Good to have you, Pasi.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'm so excited to share my background.
Likewise.
So I was thinking to give a short presentation first, and
let's do it.
Talk about first about our solution, so you can more easily follow my little bit extraordinary pathway
to
our point this today.
Right.
Just a second. Can you see it?
We can see your screen at the moment.
Can you see
it? Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, now we can just see the whole screen.
Whole screen. So I have to switch it.
The browser.
Oh, the browser.
Only the browser. The remote.
Sharing Firefox. Oh. Stop sharing. I tried to just share the screen.
Sure.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
So, yes, great.
And maybe you can, because we can see both slides, like the current slide and the upcoming slide.
Okay, I switch it.
Excellent.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'm Pasi Herranen, and I'm a co-founder and CDO at Vacuum Insulation Solutions, and also I'm a doctoral candidate at Aalto University. So first, a little bit of our solution. So we are Aalto University spin-off, and our product is this novel wood construction technology called vacuum insulation system. In this technology, we are combining wood engineering with vacuum technology, which enables us to utilize wood construction in extremely humid environments as vertical farming. So our first market products will be this kind of sustainable vertical farm buildings, and today's solution on the market, the materials they are constructing these facilities are made out of concrete, plastic, and metal. So we have the first solution to utilize wood construction in this rapidly growing market. But in the future, our long-term vision is to also offer carbon neutral or even carbon negative office, residential and warehouse type buildings, and even mostly wooden underground structures. A little bit deeper to the technology itself. So here you can see mostly this wooden element frame in front of the picture, and behind the wooden element frame you can see a finished element. So the wooden frame is covered with really thin aluminum sheets. We have three principles in this element solution. So we have a optimized element frame, which is made out of plywood, and it's strong enough to withstand a vacuum inside the element. So we are reaching almost a 0 bars of vacuum inside this element, and the plywood frame is holding this loading. And then the third principle is that we cover it airtight, and with this solution, we can simply start to under pressurizing the elements. So we can just attach a vacuum pump into the element, and we can start to under pressurize this construction element. What happens is we can reach that low pressure state inside the element that the moisture absorbed into the wooden element frame starts to boil, and it transfers into gaseous form. So we can just remove the unwanted extra moisture out of the wooden element frame by vacuum pump. So this is a physical phenomenon called vacuum drying, and we are the first technology in the world which has harnessed this physical phenomenon as a maintenance service for a whole construction element. And because of this maintenance service possibility, we are able to utilize wood in extremely moist conditions as vertical farming. So that was briefly the technology side. And let's go to today's topic. So my history is actually really extraordinary to come at this point. So I graduated from Aalto University in 2014, and I wrote my master thesis about the strength of plywood. I was studying in the mechanical engineering department, and my major was solid mechanics. So I had the proper experience to start to develop this kind of novel element. But the motivation for this innovation came actually from the news like 10 years ago. So there was so many news in newspapers about the bad indoor air quality in Finnish public buildings. So I was starting to think, can we do something differently? And then I ended up with this idea of putting the whole element into a vacuum, and what will happen if we can do it. So I started to study the construction side, because I didn't have that much experience on the civil engineering, as I was originally from studying at the mechanical engineering department. So I just started to read lots of papers which are causing up this indoor air quality problems for buildings. And then when I noticed that, I understood that we can solve this problem if we just make a vacuum element. I started to calculate the strengths and optimal geometries of these elements at home. I was not working under Aalto at that time. I just started to do it, and actually the 3 first years I was doing everything by my own budget. So it was quite rough years. So I had to spend all my savings. I was actually, during my studies, I was a poker professional, and I played 10 years as a professional poker player, and I was able to grind some savings, but after 3 years all my money was gone, because I spent all the money to develop this technology. And then when I was able to get this mathematical model in a way I was happy with it, I started to build the prototypes. And at that point, I contacted my old Aalto connections, and I was able to come to Aalto to build this first prototype. And this time was also, I didn't get any money from Aalto at that time. And this took like 1 year to build the first prototype. I did it by myself here at Otaniemi. But then I actually got the prototype working, and I started to think what can we do with this and how can we commercialize it. And I was lucky to have 2 good friends from the economics background. So they were master of economics, and we started, 3 of us started to think what we should focus on. And we noticed that because we have this maintenance service with this element, we understood that the indoor farming market seems to be really interesting. So we again started to research this like glass greenhouse market and everything related to that, collecting articles and papers and just collecting lots of information and doing our calculation related to the economic side of this production method. And during that time, Aalto University got interested about our solution, and one professor, Lauri Rautkari from Aalto University, heard that I have two economics on board. So he said that, okay, Pasi, you could transfer this technology under Aalto, and we signed this deal with Aalto University, and the technology and all the know-how came to Aalto University, and we were given a shot to apply this research to business funding, which we have been talking today earlier, and 3 of us, we write the application, the business research to business application. It took several months for us to get it done, and luckily it was accepted from Business Finland at the start of 2019. So this was actually the first time I was getting salary from this project. So it took 4 years for me to get the salary going. But I was really happy that we got a really nice chunk of funding to get forward. And actually with this funding, we were able to scale up the element size into this industrial size element you saw at the earlier picture. So from this kind of laboratory element size, we were able to scale it up to size of 20 square meters. So those are actually now quite large elements, and we were able to build this pilot facility. Also, you were able to see at this slide. So this is located at the Natural Resources Institute Finland Research Center in Piikkiö. So there is this kind of place they are researching the glass greenhouse cultivation. So all the know-how related to that stuff is there, and this is why we decided to build this facility to Piikkiö. So Natural Resource Institute Finland will be continuing the plant research inside our facility. And I have been also doing some structural research. So the elements has been working extremely well, and also the vacuum drying method has been proven in the real environment. So after 3 years of piloting, we have extremely dry wooden element frames, even as we have a flat roof, and really hard like water contents on top of the roof. As for example, last winter the snow just came on the rooftop and it melted at the spring, and during the summer we didn't have to do anything. So we didn't actually need it even to do the vacuum drying because the elements were so watertight. So everything seems to be in order related to pilot. So now we are happy to say that we have the we have all the patents transferred into our company. So Aalto University applied these, wrote these patent applications globally, and the patents are now pending state, and we had to negotiate the patents from the university again to our company, and we just ended up with this negotiation round, and currently we are on a seed round, so we are ready to start the business soon. And we already have a few angel investors ready to give us some funding. So this is everything is going in the right direction related to that. And also we are currently negotiating with industrial manufacturing companies in Finland to start the element manufacturing in a large scale. And we have, our team has been growing up to 5 people now, so we are ready to start full time, and we also have an excellent advisory board directing us. Our company is also involved in Aalto Startup Center and the Urban Tech Helsinki incubators here at Aalto University, and also this EEX journey. I can really recommend all of these three incubator like opportunities to apply. You should really focus this kind of support there is available. And luckily, our company was selected as a top 50 Nordic impact company during this year. So as we are providing the wood engineering into the urban farming as first in the world, so all the CO2 emissions savings seems quite nice in our future. And also we have been lucky that some quite large international companies has contacted us, and currently we are negotiating with them about the piloting projects which will be implemented in Finland in the becoming years. So I think that's the quick presentation from my side, and now it's time for the questions. And here is my contact details, and I will give the LinkedIn information to the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pasi. This has been like what a conversation that we're about to have now, because I did not know you started back in 2014 and then you got paid. Was it 4 years later, the first time you got paid?
Yeah, 4 years later.
And you were a poker player, and then you went all into this.
Yeah.
And developing, like, what a mindset.
Yeah, I saw that the poker field was going in the wrong direction. So there was just not enough like hobby players anymore, and the competition it was getting tougher and tougher. So, and I had already played 10 years as professionally, so it was time to do something else.
Interesting. What an interesting switch. Because you've been playing for 10 years, and then you're like, wait, I'm gonna place my bets on this.
Yeah, I just felt so strong towards my model and numbers, and as the pilot element was so successful, so it was really encouraging for me to continue all this stuff. So
that was actually my next question. I would like to know more, like, how did you find this motivation, like, to keep going? It's been a long journey.
Yeah, I think the mathematical side, it was the backbone of my motivation. So I was able to calculate it really like. So I really trusted those calculations that it will work. And as I was able to manufacture the first like demo element, and it was strong enough to keep intact, and we were able to reach this vacuum state inside the element. So I think the motivation came from there to continue this so many years. But originally it was, as I said before, it was from the indoor air quality problems, which was speaking in the media really heavily during the like 2010 to 2014. So there was a great, huge problem which I was aiming to solve.
That is amazing. That's so nice because I feel like when we hear the news, and often, you know, Posse, most of the news is negative. It's not positive. And then when you hear something negative, you thought and you said, huh, I maybe can do something about it.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it was really rough years because my budget was really tight and I had to save in everything. So, but I'm happy that we made it through.
Likewise, and big congratulations for the award that you got for the being among the top 50 of having the Nordic Impact. This is a big award.
Yeah, it was a big deal for us. So we were able to go to Copenhagen and get some more impact education, and we got really great contacts from there. So
nice.
And I would say that in this point that the networking, it's the like one of the most critical thing when you are starting a new business or startup. So if you think your possibilities to do something new, you need people around you, and you need to think that every connect you have, it's a possibility to cooperate. It's in the personal contacts you have. I utilized my personal network when I was starting, so I had these economics friends, so who were willing to help me without salary, with temp too. So all the people around you are really valuable if you are trying to start something new. And when we get into the Aalto society, so my network like expanded so heavily, and there is so much know-how and different departments which I can utilize. So it's so much easier now when we are here at Otani.
That is such a good point, and maybe this ties into to one of the questions that we had. Mikko, we're gonna get your question up next. I'll just take Yuval's question first. Yuval asked something, and he wanted this question actually to be for all the speakers today. So I'm gonna start with you, Posse, and maybe the rest of the speakers can type it on for us. But the question was interesting because he said, "What kind of personal life risks you have had to take to become a startup entrepreneur?" And I think, Posse, you took a lot. But then he was talking about usually there's a lot of business support in the scene, but have you been able to get personal support from someone?
Yes, family is really important. So for example, these years when I was like doing everything by myself and a sort of money, so my girlfriend was able to support me when I was like low on money. She was able to like loan me something to pay the bills, and yeah, it was true. So we were like together saving money and living in this really tiny apartment, and so yeah, the family support is really important.
That is very important. And maybe the final question before we go to the Q&As is that what would you tell the Posse, 20-year-old Posse? What would you tell him as a piece of advice?
I would say that just spare some money. Nothing is like eternal. So as I was playing poker, so I was thinking that okay, I can grind this money easily whenever I want to, but I didn't understand that even the online poker market can like progress so fast that it's going to be quite difficult times in the future. So I would say that don't spend everything you are earning.
Don't go all in right away.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep something for later. Like have some savings.
Yeah. For the rainy day.
Yeah, for a rainy day. And you know, I'm really happy that you shared this with us and also shared the importance of support networks. Like your girlfriend was there, your family was there, there was those friends that you were lucky to have. I think it's again we're coming back to the same circle. It's about having this network of people that you can be yourself with, and people that could, you know, you could help and they could do the same for you.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you'll be surprised.
Yeah, it's really valuable. And And even now, if he doesn't make it with this company, now I have a huge network and excellent know-how on my around me. So if I could start something else, it would be much easier for me.
Exactly. You only gained. You
Yeah,
only
yeah.
gained. That is so nicely said. Thank you once again, Posse, for a lovely talk and a lovely presentation and sharing so much real things with us about the world of entrepreneurship. And
Yeah,
I
thank
would
you
like,
for having me.
my pleasure. I would like to tell the people that that again we have Posse. Please, I will kindly request you to share your LinkedIn if somebody can ask you more questions, and of course we will be in the networking session. So please feel free to jump in and ask the speakers whatever you would like in that time. So we
Yes,
have
I
about.
will share the LinkedIn link.
Thank
there.
you, Posse. I think we have
Thank you.
about half an hour, more or less, to for the networking session. All right, everybody. Thank you for a lovely day, and we'll see you in the networking session from